Hypothetical new fan comes up to me and goes, look, why should I come watch Tron Ares?
That's a great question because nobody else is. With reviews like Tron Ares is so bad, it'll make you wish AI would hurry up and destroy Hollywood, or IGN giving it a 5, which is just one more than Lord of the Rings Gollum. You can understand why this movie had an opening below Morbius. So come on, Hassan. Tell us why we're all wrong.
I would tell them, are you a fan of Trent Reznor and Nine Inch Nails? I was like, did you like The Social Network?
Do you like music in this completely unrelated film? Which, as it turns out, is just another way of going, do you like music?
What was it about The Social Network that you really liked? So, oh, the music was incredible.
Yeah, that's what everyone remembers about The Social Network. The audio. It's not the stories, the characters, the motivations, anything deep about the movie at all. No, it's just how it sounds.
Well, it sounds so great because Trent Reznor did the soundtrack in an incredibly ambitious visual film.
Audio, visuals. The guy didn't mention story, characters, or themes of the movie at all. He didn't even mention prior Tron movies. Oh no, don't worry, we're continuing the stories of the characters that you already love, that's why I'd go and see it. Everything he mentioned was the superficial aspects, which are supposed to wrap up the actual depth and the content of a movie, which they don't exist here. And don't get me wrong, he's not lying, it does have great audio and great visuals. It just doesn't have anything else. All of the reviews agreed that it looked great, sounded great, and that's kind of where it ended. I just never, for a second, thought that the guy that made the movie would agree. It's the aftermath of the movie, though, that was most interesting, as all the media lined up in their usual manner, with the usual cope, weird excuses, and taking aim at Jared Leto simply because they don't like him, while guarding what they do like and want to see in future movies. Failures. For instance, in none of these media articles will you see anyone mention the problem with the movie was the girl bosses. They will come up with every other problem under the sun, even blaming it on things that happened 5 years ago, but they're not going to mention the girl bosses that ruined the movie. No, instead, despite them taking up the majority of the film time, it's got to be Jared Leto's fault. Can he still be counted on to carry a franchise? Is he a franchise killer that will sink any movie that he's in? I mean, the film was so unpopular that even when he was going around cinemas surprising people that were there, which I think is actually a good marketing tactic, it's probably not very effective for getting more people into the cinema, at least in the short term. But I do think it's very good for the actor's image and the kind of fan reputation of the movie, which will definitely endear more goodwill in the long run. The problem with this, though, is he was turning up at cinemas that were empty. Maybe keep those videos on the down low, eh? Or maybe don't pan the camera around to the seats. The media, though, their target insights, are already talking about how this will affect his next movie. He's got something new in development. Oh, that's risky. The truth is, I agree with this talent agent, that you could have had Ryan Gosling, it still wasn't going to work. If you say Tron Ares is good, we just needed a different actor, you're deluding yourself. Tron Ares was the epitome of style over substance. It did sound and look great. There's no other compliment you can give it, though. There were definitely actors that dragged down the movie. Jared was among them because he played it very, hello, I am Agent Smith, which has never been Tron. But if he'd been surrounded by hot TNA characters that were simply there for the male demographic, well, it would have been a bit more content in the movie. The truth is, Tron was made for the girl boss demographic, and they don't watch action movies. I'm just not sure, though, how much Jared will care about people talking about the end of his career when you see how much he earned on this one that flopped. Sources tell Hollywood Reporter he earned high 7 figures for the role, plus a 7-figure producing fee. Hollywood is one of the few places on earth you can lose like $100 million and still come out making 9. At the moment, it's just wealth transfer from companies to individuals. Hollywood always talks about how important it is to have wealth redistribution, but it seems to be from the corporation to them. They don't really give back as much to the corporation as they used to 20 years ago. But as Tron was a massive disappointment, it was meant to open with $44 million US, opened with a 14.3 million opening day, which was lower than Morbius, and eventually opened well under expectations with just $33 million. This only compounded when it earned $3 million last Friday, equaling a 65% drop. Definitely won't recoup its budget of $180 million, and in fact is looking like it might lose $132 million. With numbers that bad, important questions need to be asked, so you don't do it again. Did the actors earn too much? Is it right that Jared Leto earned $9 million when the movie he's in loses 132? If audio and visuals can no longer carry a movie, then what depth are you going to put in there? What ideas are you going to look at? Whose values are you going to represent in a movie? Because clearly, as we saw, the girl boss ones don't work. There is an audience that appeals to, but they're already at home with their cats, reading books about milking on a farm, watching Twilight trying to work out whether they'd prefer to bang a corpse or an animal. And yet these tastes are the tastes of the people in Hollywood, and so that's what gets represented. That's what they feel is important. As such, if you can come to any conclusion except the fact that you're the problem, you begin to get really weird excuses and copes. Everyone runs around making up all of these different stories rather than just pointing at the obvious stuff. That's how you get very, very strange article headlines like, Tron Ares is destined to become a cult classic. Now, you do get articles about how Jared Leto has turned into a cult leader. And I don't know if that's true or not, but if he is, at least that'll be one cult where Tron Ares is a classic, and their only evidence for anything else is, well, the first two Tron films became cult classics. It's like, yeah, but they were good. They're very simple movies, but simple movies can be carried by audio and visuals. And Legacy especially had a really great theme around a son taking over his father's legacy. Going from the teenage, I'm just going through the world, don't really know what to do with my life, to I should actually inherit and contribute and take over what my father started. There isn't any of that in the third one. It's just, girls do get it done. I especially like the years later, many look fondly back on Legacy despite it getting mixed reviews. That's because the quality of movies has plummeted through the floor. At the time, the message of Legacy wouldn't have been anything special, but if you watch it now, when you're starved for that kind of theme, suddenly you realize how important it was all along. And believe me, Hollywood can get worse. It can always get worse. It's just difficult to see how it could make such a large drop compared to what we've already experienced. If the quality of movies sink so low that we start looking at Tron Ares as a good movie, then may God have mercy on our souls. One of the criticisms that does actually have weight, though, is that maybe Tron shouldn't die. It should just be cheaper. The main issue with that is this applies to all movies. Any movie that makes some money but didn't make enough money, if you'd spent less, it would have been successful. As such, I'm never really sure how much substance or weight is actually carried by stating it, because your other problem is if you'd spent less money on it, then it wouldn't have looked as good as it did, unless you just cut Jared Leto's pay packet. And so without all that money, it may not even have made as much money as it did now. That said, as just a general theme, I think nearly all movies in Hollywood are too expensive right now. I don't think there's any need for them to spend that much. They're just used to wasting money and being able to get away with it. Well, those times are gone. In the never-ending search for cope, though, one of the weirdest excuses is that Tron Ares had a lackluster turnout because of a cold that happened 5 years ago. It's looking like this might be an excuse that Hollywood uses for the rest of time. Kinda makes me wonder why they never used it before. This movie flopped, it must be flu season. Why did Superman not break $1 billion? Well, I had a headache last weekend, and so everyone else must have done as well. And as Bounding Into Comics says, it actually doesn't make any sense even commenting on it, because plenty of other movies have done well. You know, the movies people wanted to go and see. The funniest commentary, though, is probably what can only be described as the Giga Chad of all cope. That Tron Ares was just an advertisement for Disney rides. That's right, they lost $132 million just so you'd ride a roller coaster for a bit. Now yes, there was similar cope about Formula One, that actually it was just a paid advertisement for Formula One. But as a business, that kind of works, and you could see that if they were going to spend that much on advertising anyway, then as long as they got more advertising out of the movie than they would a TV network, they've done their job. None of this is true for a pissing Disney ride. It even says, in any given day at the Shanghai theme park and Walt Disney in Orlando, next to Pirates of the Caribbean, the Tron ride is the one with the biggest lines. Like, doesn't that harm your case? If it's already a successful ride, why do you need to lose $132 million to advertise it? You're not going to make any more money on it. People are already going. Not that a ride is actually what makes you money in the first place. It's the park as a whole. And I just don't believe that one single ride is going to pull in $132 million worth of business to a Disney park. I know they're profitable, I know they do well. Not off the basis of a single ride, though. You've also got the problem that this ride is based off the previous two Tron films. You know, the ones this movie entirely ignored and breached all law for. In fact, the more of a fan you are of the previous two Tron movies, the more likely you are to hate Tron Ares for what it did to them. Systematically destroying the main character of the sequel makes the entire movie pointless and actively destroys his legacy. And they're like, yeah, that'll make you go buy the merch. But don't worry, it gets worse. This is Hollywood, it always gets worse. Deadline has learned from sources that the movie may actually cost $220 million, not 170 to 180 like was floated out there. When you get into those numbers, Jared Leto's $9 million is looking like a drop in the ocean. How much did the girl bosses get paid? If Tron Ares makes $160 million, it gets $72 million from theatrical rentals, 37 from home entertainment, 100 million in home television, and 5 from airlines, bringing it to 214 million in revenue, which doesn't even equal their budget, even if they took 100% of the takings. This is not a profitable movie. Their ad spend was reported at 102 million, with things like stunts at Comic-Con, touring lightcycles, a Nine Inch Nails concert, and other costs. I can't help think a lot of this seems like a massive waste of money. We're gonna do a Nine Inch Nails concert in Los Angeles. How big of your audience is in Los Angeles that can attend? I still don't think we've quite nailed this international marketing for movies yet. But one talent rep said there was no specific vision. The idea that Disney would spend $250 million on a Jared Leto film in this franchise that hasn't worked for 4 decades is insane. Yes, I think everyone would have agreed if you'd said all the numbers up front. It was insane. And if stupid idiots sitting in their bedroom can read that and work it out, and yes, I am talking about myself in that regard, why can't Disney? If Disney can't even hire people of the same aptitude as the unemployed, then who are they pissing hiring at their company? Because right now it really seems like it's who you know, not what you know, as they don't know anything. It just seems to be favors for friends with money that isn't theirs. It's very easy to spend and risk a corporation's money when you're never held accountable for it. I swear it used to be that when you had a massive flop in the movie industry, that was it. But now they just promote you and just keep letting you have greenlighting powers. It's really strange. Now, Deadline have started to blame the finite appeal of the Tron franchise and the limited draw of non-Star Wars and non-Trek sci-fi movies, as if the problem with recent sci-fi hasn't been that it's ass. Like Tron Ares. The idea that a movie has to be Star Trek or Star Wars to be successful is so reductionist as to be utterly absurd, and they know that as well. Ultimately, Tron's faulty battery was its screenplay. Then why are you whining about the success of movies which aren't Star Trek and Star Wars? Great screenplays overcome historical hurdles. They're not hurdles then, are they? If it takes a good movie to overcome problems, then if it doesn't overcome the problem, you're saying it's a bad movie. A bad movie failing isn't a bug, it's a feature. That's the open marketplace working as intended, at least when you've got an informed customer base that know what they're getting before they enter the cinema, which is exactly what Hollywood and the actual corporate media don't want. They don't want customers that know what the movie's going to be before they go in there. They want a world where it's able to go, well, it sounds great and it looks good, so the trailers look amazing. And that bait and switches you into going to a movie you don't want to see. The industry working on style over substance makes Hollywood success easy. But the thing is, even if that did work, even if the internet didn't exist and so you didn't have an informed customer base, that would still only work short term, as the moment the audience lose confidence in the cinema, they stop going. And yet all anyone seems to be concerned about is short-term gains. Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean proved pirate movies can work. Any movie can work. Where would the attitude come from that people don't like pirates? That's like saying you don't know if a ninja movie would be successful. So don't blame former Disney production head and Tron Ares producer Sean Bailey for doing his job, losing $132 million. Don't blame the people responsible or the girl bosses responsible. It must be something else like a cold from 5 years ago. Don't blame the people that made the decisions for some reason, because Pirates of the Caribbean existed. The bias is so obvious, if someone just described this article to you, you wouldn't believe it. Originally, the third Tron was conceived as a sequel to Legacy, like it should have been. That movie may even have worked, with returning characters. The notion of Tron coming into our world a la Ares was always part of the third chapter, I'm told, and they could have made it. They could have even recast the characters if they needed to, but what matters is you stay true to what came before, and this just went, not only ignored it, but actively crapped on the movie. After that, you had fights over scripts, lots of reshoots, and we're gonna blame Jared Leto again. Maybe he doesn't appeal with this age group, or maybe with this age group he's actually less successful than that. Maybe this one really likes him. They are so obsessed with the data about trying to split everyone up into identity groups that they fail to actually look at what's important, like the story, or the themes of it, or the values within it. These are people that aren't only obsessed with getting tick boxes into a movie, they're obsessed with what the tick boxes think of it outside the movie. This is where they really cope hard, saying actually it was just an advertisement for the rides. We always spend over $200 million to advertise a single ride at a theme park. That happens all the time. And that is like the final thread of hope as to why the actual series may not be cancelled, although I don't even know where you go from here, except go back in time and completely ignore Tron Ares as a movie. The only way you could possibly continue this franchise is now to get the original actors back and do a sequel to Legacy. Although having seen Disney's obsession with girl bosses in Ares, I don't think they could do that either. Not successfully. And then well, actually, when it comes to sci-fi franchises, again, rather than looking at general trends, if we narrow it down to a very specific one, which we've hand cut out just to try and make a point, sci-fi franchises, even when they stumble, often the next one is even more successful, like Alien Resurrection compared to Alien vs. Predator. Oh sure, Tron Ares may have flopped, but if we make a sequel to the flop, it might do even better. Yes, maybe the next one, rather than losing $132 million, might only lose 80. It's fair to say time heals all franchise wounds. However, we can't say that about Tron Ares this time around. Stick a fork in it, it's done. I like the first two Tron movies. I didn't like Ares. It was a movie out of its time. It felt like a 2018-2019 movie. Back around peak evil. None of these movies needed to be made, but a sequel never really does. It doesn't mean it couldn't have been good. The issue Tron has is it completely subverted and perverted the original movies, the themes of them and how they're made. It's a movie that hated and humiliated its male characters, but really wanted to uplift the girl bosses. That was never going to work. It's the problem with these revivals. It's led to some people to think that remakes or sequels of old franchises, they just don't want them. That because they're unoriginal, because they're mining old IPs, that's a problem in some way. And that's not unreasonable when so many of them failed to have noticed that trend. But I still don't think it's the problem of the remake or the sequel. It's the problem of the people making them and what they believe. If Tron Ares had just continued the themes of Legacy, I think people would have liked it, especially now when that theme is so lacking in Hollywood in general. If it had continued a son following in his father's legacy, saving the damsel in distress, showing her the world, protecting her, I think it would have gone down well. All you had to do is make a masculine movie with masculine morality aimed at men. The guy saved the day and the girls look hot being in distress. That's all you need. And yet, this simple formula is impossible for Hollywood right now because the masculinity required to make it doesn't exist there. In fact, it's actively purged from the industry. And until that changes, Hollywood will not change. The only people that can save the industry is themselves. And that would rely on them realizing that they're the problem. And if there's one thing that this ideology despises, it's taking accountability. But until that time, hey, at least Korean movies still understand. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you liked the video. Subscribe, more videos like this in the future. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.